This is Nancy Tupper-Ling. I am a children's author and poet, and I thought today we could maybe create a poem together. Something fun to do while you're cooped up at home. So one of my books is called Double Happiness, and it's the story about a move. It's brother and sister Gracie and Jake who have to move far away from a home they love in San Francisco or a place like that to somewhere totally different with snow, which I imagine kind of like where I live. And it's pretty much based on my own daughters who grew up having to say goodbye every summer to their Nai Nai, who they love, their Chinese grandmother, and that was never an easy thing. So this is a story about having to transition to a whole new place. But each of the pages in here are told through poems. So this one in particular is through Jake's voice. It's called Train, and he's imagining all the fun things that he can have in his new room. So what I typically would call this is a list poem of those things that he loves. And the list poem is sort of like an inventory. It can be about anything that you want to write about. It could be about your favorite cars or your favorite books or restaurants, but it is that very thing, a list. And you'll see how it works with Jake. So he says, Train. In my new room, I want bunk beds, fluffy rugs, rocket ships that zoom and zip across my walls, a shark tank, a fire pole, a telescope, and wait, maybe just one long train that rocks and wobbles my bed each night. I can't fall asleep until the train passes by. So that is Jake's list. And I thought today we could create a list poem of our own. And what I want you to think about is a place that's really special to you. So maybe you want to turn this off for a little bit and think about that place before we start. A place that means so much to you, just like for Gracie and Jake. So for me, I'm going to use my Nana's house. And I'm going to use this fancy white page here. Take a blank sheet of paper at home, and I'll just show you how I do my poem, and then hopefully you can work along with your own. So you're going to put your place at the top, whatever it is. It could be the library. It could be a place that you love to go sledding. Like I said, for me, it's going to be Nana's house. So you put that right up at the top. And then when you write poetry, you really want to use all of your senses. So those are the 5 senses, and to remember them, for the younger kids, I often point to them. So first there is sight, seeing, and smell, and taste, and hearing, and touch. So I am not a good artist, but bear with me. I'm going to just draw these things so we'll remember what we're looking for. So we have sight, and we have smell, bad nose, and we have taste, and we have hearing, and then touch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, really bad hand. Anyway, those are the 5 senses. And for each sense, when you think of your place, I want you to write a couple words down. They can be concrete nouns, which are person, place, or thing that reflect those senses, or you can add verbs too. Whatever you want to do. Poetry is free-flowing here. So for me, when I think of my Nana's house and I think of what I saw, I'm going to put Nancy Drew books, because those were my favorite thing to always bring along with me, and she had a great name, because Nancy Drew. Sorry for my writing. Nancy Drew books. And other things that I saw at my Nana's house, well, she lived in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, so I'm going to put those. White Mountains. Sorry for the writing. And what else did I see? Well, interestingly, she had this bird named Oliver, so I'm going to put Oliver. Maybe nobody else will know what that means, but I know who Oliver is. So then we go to smell. What did I smell at Nana's house? What do you smell at your favorite place? And I'm going to put fish chowder. because my Nana made awesome fish chowder. And I would also smell butterscotch because she had those yummy butterscotch candies. So butterscotch. You can add as many as you want, like I said. So tasting, interestingly, these can cross over. I could have fish chowder for taste too, but for a poem you don't want to have the same word necessarily over and over again. So I'm going to put crescent rolls because she made delicious crescent rolls. And let's see, I could also have, I'm actually going to move, so you can move things around. I'm going to put butterscotch down here for taste, and up here for smell I'm going to add pine needles because those were prevalent in New Hampshire. So crescent rolls and butterscotch under taste. And then touch. Sound is next. So things that I would hear when I was in my Nana's house. I would always hear Nana humming. So this is where I'm going to get some verbs. And I would hear the grandfather clock chiming. What else? Usually there were some chickadees, so I'll put chickadees outside. Chickadees calling, maybe. So there's some verbs. And then now we get to touch, and my Nana loved to knit, so I'm going to put some skeins of yarn. And how about just when I was a kid, some kisses goodnight. All right, so I have a good bunch of words there for my list. And this is the magic of making a list poem just for fun. You can turn it into a poem just by adding a verb here. So your title is your special place, and then I can say Nana's house is ... So Nana's house is all these things. Nana's house is Nancy Drew books and White Mountains and Oliver the Partridge and fish chowder and pine needles, crescent rolls, butterscotch. I can add some verbs there if I want. Nana humming, grandfather clock chiming, chickadees calling, skeins of yarn, and kisses goodnight. All those things are my list at Nana's house. But then you might want an ending. So what do? So for endings, you can either have an Eastern ending or a Western ending. And Eastern tends to be a softer, like kind of a fade out. Maybe you end in a question. So I could just say, would you like to visit Nana's house too? And a Western ending tends to be much more a solid, firm sentence. So it would be Nana's house is the best place in the world, or something like that. So there you have it. You can do the same thing. I hope you will give it a try. And my website is nancytupperling.com. You can find under educators section, there's some activities there. You can expand this poem. It's a whole special place poem that you can add more words to. And I also have a link on there for where you might want to send your poetry if you think it's good to submit. Even kids and teens can submit their poetry, so don't be afraid to try. And if you have any questions or you want to share your poems with me, please do. I've had a lot of fun today. Thanks.